Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Limitless Show. In this episode, my guest and I will be talking about the fear of other people's opinions. So if you have ever wanted to do something, but you were too afraid to do it because someone might say or think something about you, this video is 100% for you. It is absolutely my pleasure to introduce this week's guest. I have never met anyone quite like him. He always makes me feel so special, so loved, so energized. Like, I honestly can't wait for you to meet him. He is one in a million. Please welcome Alejandro Tonetto.
Excellent. So, listen, Emily, I am so happy to really be here. From the very first moment that we virtually met each other, I could feel it. I mean, there was a connectivity, but I truly believe that our connection is one that is going to linger forever. Because I think that we really hit it off, and I think that your personality, my personality, and the desire that we each of us have to add value to the world and to other people is something that is the glue that is going to keep connecting us together.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Our energy when we're together, after I leave a call with you or a FaceTime or a Zoom, I'm always like feeling so energized, so pumped up and so ready. So honestly, I can't wait for my audience to see you and hear what you have to say. So for anyone who is new to The Limitless Show is where I bring a guest each week and we talk about a limitation they've had in their life and how they've overcome it, in the hopes that if you have the same limitation, what is said in this video can help you too. So Alejandro and I were talking, and he said he'd like to talk about the fear of other people's opinions. If you would like to explain this limitation to my audience, how would you explain the fear of opinions?
Well, let me begin by saying that any kind of limitation that we have are the source of preventing us from living a life to the fullest of our capacities, of our capabilities. And this fear, which is the fear of other people's opinions, and I'm sure that I am not the only one who has this fear and this limitation, and I don't have it anymore, but I used to have it, and it was something that when you have something like this, is like, whether you know it consciously or not, it's affecting your life in all sorts of ways. What is the fear of other people's opinions? It's the fact that I was always fearful of expressing an idea. I was fearful of starting or sharing with people or sharing with someone what I wanted to do. I mean, a project that I wanted to start, perhaps a business idea that I wanted to begin working on. Whatever it may be, I was always scared to share it because everything was tied to my extremely, and I want to emphasize this, extremely low self-esteem and low self-image that I had on myself. I was always scared that, if I share this, what are people going to think about me? How are they going to view me in their eyes? Am I going to be okay? Am I going not to be okay? Am I going to be accepted by people? And you know what happens, Emily? When you have this particular fear of what other people may say, may think, how they may look at you, what that does is it keeps you on a very restricted, I think that it keeps you in a stagnant zone where there is no growth, where you're not able to do anything because there's always that temptation of saying, well, if I share that, people are going to think that I am a fool, or people are going to think that I'm crazy, or people are going to think that where am I coming from? And that is a very restrictive a fear. And I had that, I mean, for a very long time. Like all fears and like all limitations that we have, Emily, they have a way of crippling us. I mean, they have a cripple effect. And we become, whether we are physically or not, but emotionally, we become cripple creatures and cripple individuals, and that do not allow us to do anything. I mean, to venture to do anything else in the world. I mean, we people who suffer from this are not contributors. I mean, they don't contribute because they're always fearful of how the world is going to respond to you.
Yeah, completely. If it was for you, low self-esteem, that's why you had this fear of other people's opinions. Why else do you think? Because there must be many other reasons, and I'm sure there are many other reasons why people fear other people's opinions. Maybe they want to fit in or something else, but why do you think other people fear people's opinions?
I think that you said it. It's because we don't find our own comfortable space. You know what happens? One of the dangerous things about living like that is that now that I am on the other side of that fear and I looked into it, I can see very clearly that you are not the owner of your own life. Is other people are owning you, they are owning your life, they're owning your mind, they are owning your thoughts, and you are not the owner. You become, I don't know, I mean, if this analogy could serve, but you become a slave to your own living. I mean, because you are a slave to others. You are just letting other people run your life. How pathetic that is. That some people, just like me at the time, that we let other people run the show. We should be in control of our own show. But when we are fearful of what others say, then others run our show and they run our life.
It's also so sad because if you let other people run your show, then you will never become the person that you could be, because you'll always be afraid of what people are going to say. And some of the best people or the most successful people or the people who have helped other people wouldn't have done what they have done in their life if they cared too much what other people think of them. Like, I definitely wouldn't be doing this show or my channel if you still cared what other people thought about you. You wouldn't be doing your amazing content and your amazing work as well. So it's quite sad to think how many people in the world are untapped, like just amazingness, like amazing human beings who have not been discovered because they're scared of what other people think of them. It's just really sad to think about.
Right off the bat, I mean, one of the reasons that we cannot let that happen is because even though some people may think that our lifespan is a very long one, to be honest, I think that most would agree that our lifespan is extremely short in the context of, let's say, eternity. I mean, whether you live 70, 80, 90, even 100 years, and there's a lot of centenarians out there in the world. But even if you get fortunate to live up to 100 and you are mentally active and mentally sane, that's a very short span of time to be living with other people's thinking. We have to wake up. And I tell you one thing, for me, when I finally woke up from that, I would say from that virtual dream that I was in, it's like, I mean, I had been in jail for years and somebody handed me the key and it says, hey, you there's the key, there's the lock. Get the freaking key on that lock, open the jail, and go free. And that's what indeed happened to me. It was a very magical moment, to say the least.
They say the best weight that you will ever lose is the weight of other people's opinions. And I could not agree more.
I mean, it's true. You know, another thing that one of my mentors used to say, and you're going to be laughing about this, because he said, this fear of or this limitation of being fearful of other people's opinions or what other people may think of you or may talk about you and things like that. It is not a real limitation. It's not a real fear. It's an imaginary fear that we have. And this mentor used to say, most people, even though you think that they care about you or what you say or what you think, they don't. 95% of those people don't give a freaking nothing about what you think, who you are, and what you want to do. I mean, they really don't care. So everything is in between our two ears. Everything is here. Nothing is outside. The funniest thing is that it is not real. It is, we make up that fear, and it's all like a science fiction story. Is far from reality.
It really is a fake fear, because a lot of the things that we say in our head, like this person's going to say this about us or that person's going to say that about us, they're not even worried about us. They're too busy concentrating on themselves, because that's what we're all doing. We're all worried about ourselves. Like, they're not concentrating on you. And like you said, life is the longest thing we do, but it's so short. It's so short. And I've read a lot of kind of papers and documentaries where people who are on the brink of dying or at old age, and they get asked, if you could do one thing, what would you do? And it would be not worry too much or not care so much what other people think about me. It's just crazy how we spend so much of our life in this state of fake, as you said, a fake limitation, worrying. So you said you kind of woke up from this. You woke up from this limitation. So how did you wake up from it? Was it because of what this person said about it being a fake limitation?
I'm going to share with you and your listeners a story that I tell you, Emily, if I were to live 10,000 years on this planet, I would never forget this story, because that was a pivotal point in my life. I was walking in one direction, and then this just changed completely for me, and I made a 180 degrees, and then I now began walking on a different pathway. I remember years ago, I was living here in the United States, but in Salt Lake City, Utah. Right now, I'm living in Georgia, but I was living in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's on the western side of the United States. And I remember as if it happened today. I mean, I woke up in the morning, and as I normally did, I went to the gym, to work out. So I went, and so I was in the midst of working out. I finished my routine, and then I was all sweaty and my hair all over the place. And so I went to the restroom just to throw some water on my face, to freshen up. This gentleman enters the restroom, an older gentleman with a headband, with a ponytail, and he started washing his hands, and I was there at the sink as well, and we were the only two in the restroom. Him and me. He began looking at me. I began to feel a little bit uneasy, and my level of preoccupation, was rising a little bit. He kept on looking at me, and then we started, that kind of a chit chat. Hey, hello. I haven't seen you. Are you new in the gym? Did you have a good workout? But at one point, this gent turns to me. It looks me intently into my eyes, and he asked me this question. He said, "What are you creating today?" And I heard the question, and then I turned to him, And I said, what? Because I wanted to make sure that I heard the right question. I said, did you ask me what am I creating today? And he said, yes. I mean, a very matter of fact kind of a guy, very down to earth, and says, yes. I mean, yes. What are you creating today? And I said, well, just give me a minute. Give me a moment to think about it. Because this is not a question that a stranger comes and says, I mean, it asks you, I mean, it's like, I mean, you are on the subway and you see someone sitting there and you just go and says, hey, ma'am, what are you creating today? I mean, that's not a question that you would expect from a stranger.
No.
And I said, well, just give me a few moments. Let me think about it. And I tell you one thing, Emily, that question began in me. It gave me a different perspective of who I was. You see, up until that moment, I thought that I was another ant in the anthill. You know, another one of the bunch. But from that moment on, I could see the real value that I had, not just as a human being, but as a creator of my own life, a co-creator of my own destiny, a co-creator of my own days, of the things that I wanted to do. And that question freed me from what other people are going to say. From that moment on, I tell you, my paradigm completely shifted and changed. Up until then, my thinking was, am I going to do this? I mean, what would others think about it? That was my paradigm up until then. From then on, my paradigm became, I will do this. And I don't give a second, because this is a family show, then I'm not going to say, you know, I don't give a second thought about what other people may think or may even insinuate of what am I doing. No, because I understood there and then there are seven, I don't know at that time, but there are 7+ billion people in this planet. Not a few. I mean, there's a lot of people. Not everybody is going to like me. Not everybody is going to want to connect with me. Not everybody is going to resonate with who I am as a person and what my message is. And I don't want everybody to do that, but I am going to show up in the world every single day with no fears, knowing that someone is going to pay attention to what I say. And that I going to make a difference in at least one person's life. And that is what I began creating from that moment on. I began creating a life, a different life experience for me.
For the next part of the podcast, what other things would you tell the audience for them to, how can they stop caring what other people think about them? What other pieces of advice would you give them?
That's an excellent question. Great question, Emily. And one, I'm sure that there are many ways, but I'm just going to concentrate on one because I think that one, to me, has been very, very crucial and very important, and is the power of relationships and the power of associations and the power of collaborating with other people. And let me just expand on that a little bit more. In the world, we are going to find, and I did find, that there were people perhaps around me and people very close to me that were very negative and that had a very negative attitude and a very negative outlook for life and living. Those are the people whose toxicity you want to get very far from.
Mm.
very far from. And you want to, and I'm not ashamed of saying, you want to exclude them from your circle, from your inner circle, or from any circle. I mean, just get them far away as possible, because those are the people that are going to always show up, but from a negative standpoint. I mean, no, don't do this because it won't work. And who do you think you are? I mean, do you think that you have enough knowledge to do that? Do you think, I mean, you're too young to do that, you're too old to do that, you are whatever it is. They always look at things from a negative standpoint. And so when I know that sometimes is not easy, because some of those people, for some of us, or for some of the people who are going to be listening to this episode, to this show, some of those negative people are part of your own family. And that's when the rubber meets the road, because you cannot say, hey, to your mother or to your father or to your uncle or whatever, just get away from my house.
Mm. That wouldn't go down well.
That's because it will not go that well. And they'll probably say, well, you get out because I'm paying for the house. So that is a very difficult situation. But as much as we possibly can, just be careful who are the people that you are hanging out with, and who are the people that you are soliciting advice from. Okay, try to spend time with people who can uplift your spirit, who can motivate you to be better, to do more, to have more, to expand your area of influence, to really make an even greater contribution. Find people whom you can collaborate with in whatever area that of expertise that you may be at. Then when you find that person, collaborate with that person, because together you will be able to make an even bigger and greater impact in the world, and in your communities, in your individual communities. So that is one piece of advice that I have for people, to really pay attention who you are spending time with, who are you allowing your influences for you to be. That can have a positive effect, or it can have a very negative effect on you and the way that you are thinking forward.
Yeah. They say that misery loves company, and if you're hanging around with miserable people, you're going to be miserable too. So really watch who you're spending your time with, basically. A lot of people who are watching, even me, it's our families who may think or say something about us. You can't be like, stay away from me. What I've done, or what I found helpful to me, is to ask myself, is this person someone I would like to swap places with? So say I'm asking advice on relationships, or if I have a relationship and they're giving me advice or an opinion on relationships, I think to myself, let me look at your relationship, and would I want to be in your position? If not, then I don't need to take the advice. Same thing with money. If you have money issues and someone's giving you opinions, if you wouldn't swap places with them, you don't need to take their advice. But what would you say, Alejandro, to people who were worried about their family's opinions, or what they think and thought of them?
Well, I think that, Emily, we can divide this area into two different ones. One is family, and the other one is perhaps colleagues or friends, or people that are a part of your journey, life journey, but they're not part of your family. And let me start with those first. We get close to people. I mean, we get close to friends, and everybody evolves or grows at different rates. Not everybody grows at the same rate, and not everybody matures at the same rate. When you have friends and you know, and this is not something that happens immediately, it takes some time, but you know, you begin to know that this friend is not at the current state that he or she may be, that they are not serving me as a friend and they are not helping me to grow. I think, Emily, is sad to say, but I think it's time to remove that friend from your environment. Okay. And I know I say it and it sounds so easy. I mean, to say it, hey, just get a new friend, you know, I mean, just leave this friend. And I know that sometimes it's not that easy to do as it is to say, am I going to keep having this friend around? Because I mean, every time that I am with him or her, there is this negativity vibes all around, and he or she is not encouraging me. I mean, to grow, to be better, to do more, to have success. And once you know that, I think, even as sad as it may seem, it's time to leave them behind, because you have been taking your growth more seriously than another person. And so you are growing at a faster pace, and you are here, but they are staying here. And so there is a gap in between. As long as that gap still exists, then there's not going to be too much connection and synchronicity. If you can persuade them to keep growing and elevating to your level, and then that's fine. That's fine, because their level of awareness is going to keep growing as you are growing. But if they are staying behind and they don't have a personal interest in keep growing and bettering themselves, I think, Emily, it's time to look for new friends.
I think that's where people get frustrated as well, because I know I've had a couple of people come to me and say, how do I get this person to read a book? Or how do I get this person to get into self-development? But the thing is, you can't make anyone else do anything. You can only do it for yourself. I mean, you can change and hope that your change inspires and impacts other people, but you can't go ahead and be like, you need to read this book, you need to work on your mindset, you need to do this, you need to do that, because you can't make anyone do anything other than yourself. And I think that's where some people get really frustrated, because they're growing and their friends are staying behind, and they're like, come on, why aren't you hurrying up? Like, why aren't you doing this with me? It's amazing up here. But this person sometimes, and it's okay, sometimes they're just content here. Like, not everyone is going to be up here. Not everyone's going to want to come and do this. But yeah.
You said it very, very nicely there. It says, the things, you know, the things that you resist persist in your life. Whatever you put resistance to it, it keeps persisting. It doesn't go away. I mean, it just stays there. And so there is no point, and we can get blue in our faces to say to someone, you need to do this, you have to do that, because the very first moment that you tell somebody else you have to do something is the point that they say, I don't need to do that. And I will not do that. Just because I think that's what human nature is all about. You tell someone, it's like Newton's law of action and reaction. I mean, you take an action to do something, and then you would expect someone to say, oh my goodness, Emily, thank you so very much. Yes, you're such a darling. I really needed that. Yes, of course. Why didn't you tell me that 2 months ago? And so you would expect that, but that doesn't happen. I mean, what happens is they turn around and they said, who the you think you are? I mean, who do you think you are? You're telling me, do you think that you are greater than me? Do you think that you are more educated than me? Do you think that, and that's sadly, that's the reaction that we get. And so in order to avoid all that kind of drama, is just, you just let people live their own lives. And the only thing that you can do is every now and then perhaps persuade them to do something, but never force anybody to do something, because they will not do it. Now, when it comes to, so that's the first part of the question. When it comes to family, then that presents a new challenge. And of course, I mean, you cannot. I think that when it comes to family, there's one thing that we need to exercise, and that is patience. You know, we need to exercise patience. And I think that with family, what we can do, if your family sees that you are making tremendous progress in an area of your life, if you are excelling and thriving on an area of your life, and they begin, there are two options in there. The one option is that they see you becoming a different person, blooming in their midst, and they really don't care. They couldn't care less about it, and that's fine. I mean, if you want to keep growing, I mean, that's your problem, that's your life. Just keep going the way that, and they just don't care, and they don't ask you even any questions. But that's okay, that's fine. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be disrespectful, I mean, to that, but you just accept their view of things. But then the second is the fact that they see you blooming, and they begin to get interested, and they begin to ask you questions and said, hey, Emily, I see you that you are reading these books. Or perhaps they go to your room or to where, and they see your bookcase, and they see the books that you are, and says, oh, Emily, I mean, you're reading these books. I mean, tell me, why are you interested in those books? Then, of course, if you're asked a question, then you just go ahead and respond, and you give them your perspective on why you're doing this. And that is, you see, when other people push the door for you and they open a little bit the door, then you have the right to flank and open the door completely and tell them why. Because it didn't start with you, it started with them. They asked you, they were interested. And or if they said, hey, Emily, why are you doing this Limitless show? I mean, and podcast and interviewing people and connecting and talking to people. I mean, what's all this craziness about? Then you have an opportunity to explain to them, and so forth. So I think that now, whether they do something with that explanation, or it just goes into one ear and comes out of the other ear, that is not under your control. You cannot control that. I mean, but at least you gave them an explanation for why you are doing what you are doing. And then be patient to see if they will change, or they will do something about it, or they will just not do anything about it. That's the only thing that we can control. I don't think that there is anything else that we can do under those circumstances. What do you think?
I think you've said something so important there. And the reason why people get anxious about other people's opinions, or anxious or fearful about anything, is because they're afraid of what they can't control. But the thing is, we can't control the things that we can't control. We have to focus on the things that we can control. And that thing is us. That is our mindset. That is our attitude towards life. That is everything to do with us. And once you take that power and that responsibility of control that you have, your life becomes so much better, because you realize that there are things that you can control, and those things are enough. But so many people are so fearful because they're like trying to control, like a hurricane. They're trying to control something that is just not controllable. But when we can focus on the things that we can control, life gets better.
That was one of the also great awakenings in me. It was the fact that when I started to really believe and think that I cannot control what other people think of me. You know, the only thing that I can control is how I show up in the world, because that's how I determine to show up in the world. But I cannot control how other people are going to view me. And what happens, I mean, if I show up in the world and I'm doing this with Emily Jones Smith right now, and someone comes and they watch this episode and they say, what about these two fools? I mean, what they think they're doing? And that's fine, because we cannot control what other people are going to say. In the end, we are going to, well, perhaps we will or we won't, but in the end, it will be discovered who the real fools were, you know, and that is the only thing that we can rely upon. Is just we need to do what we think that we need to do. We need to act according to our values. We need to act according to the way that we want to live our lives, the way that we want to leave our legacy behind. And some people are going to agree and some others are going to completely disagree. And we don't have control over that. And when we learn, as you just said, when we learn to be okay, to be comfortable, not controlling that side of the equation, hey, we are living a limitless life, my friend.
Yes, we are. No, there's this great saying that says, other people's opinions are none of your business. And it's true. It's just none of your business. And taking it back to the start as well, and it's a bit morbid, but we do have a short life. And after we've lived our life, 100 years later, who's going to care what someone else thought of you? No one's going to know what anyone else thought of you. No one's going to care. So why not just live your limitless life, live as much as you can, do as much as you can, not be fearful of what other people think of you, and just try and live this life that you can do, because it is possible. No one's going to remember what people said about you. No one's going to remember about your haters. No one's going to just do it. Go out there and live your life.
If you have a lemon, make good lemonade. If you have an orange, squeeze the juice right out of it. Don't leave a drop behind. That's how we need to live our lives. Now, is everybody going to love orange juice? No, not everybody. I love it, and I will continue to do orange juice. It doesn't matter whether others may hate it. If others hate it,
I'm an apple juice fan.
That they can go for apple juice. They can go for mango juice. They can go for other juices. That's why we have so many flavors out there.
If Alejandro has inspired you at all today, please go check out his content. I will put all of his details in the description below. I just want to take this second to thank you so much, Alejandro. I'm so grateful you reached out to me. I'm so grateful you are on the same path as me. I'm so grateful we're now friends. And to everyone else watching, thank you so much for watching. And if you have enjoyed this, please let us know by hitting that like button, putting a comment in the comments, pressing the subscribe button and the bell so you never miss a Limitless show. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching. And Alejandro, you are a star.
Thank you very much, Emily. I really appreciate it. Just keep doing what you're doing and keep smiling.
I will. Thank you.